If you want to change your life, you should learn a new language. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Carter Positano. I'm a 22-year-old entrepreneur who has grown and scaled multiple businesses to six figures plus in less than 3 years. My goal here on YouTube is to help people that were in a similar position as me when I was 18. And I strive to be the person that I needed, not only when I was 18, but last year, last month, last week, and yesterday. I want to be the best version of myself every day, so I continue to grow my range of knowledge. And in doing that, I've come upon teaching. And my goal here is to mentor as many lost souls as I can. And I don't care if you're older than me, younger than me, the same age, ahead of business, or at the start of your career. I think everybody can learn from a different perspective, and I really hope you can take away something from this video. And today I want to talk about how learning a language changed my life and can change yours too. You see, learning a language isn't just being able to speak to new people, it's unlocking worlds that you didn't even know existed. The first thing I want to go over is it changes how your brain works, right? You grow a way stronger memory by learning a language. Things change in your brain and you start to understand things that have never been understood before. It changes how your brain works. You first of all, you start to build such a stronger memory while learning a language because your brain has no choice but to adapt to this thing that you're throwing at it. Eventually, it starts to connect the dots and it starts to realize what things mean together. It starts to fill in the gaps. The thing is when we're kids, the reason we adapt so easily to learning a language is because we're constantly immersed, but our brain actually functions and fills in the gaps even when we don't know words. We're able to create understanding for things with so much miscontext it's not even funny. And on top of that, because that happens, our processing skills get improved tenfold. When you learn a language, your mind starts to do things that I've talked about a lot in this channel because it's one of these core concepts that I've kind of learned myself, taught myself that I love so much. And it's the idea that your brain is a web. And the thing about this web brain that we have is that the more you learn, the bigger the web gets, right? So the thing is if I know nothing about psychology, it's never going to mesh with my culinary skills, right? The thing is the more you learn, the bigger this web gets. And eventually you get to this point in the middle where these webs collide. And once these webs collide, your brain expands and your ideas expand to another point that you didn't even think was possible, right? So the thing is, even if you don't realize that there's a difference being made, your brain is constantly doing work and doing things that you don't understand and unfortunately probably will not understand, but you're constantly changing. And I think it's so interesting the differences that it can make in a day-to-day learning a language. Even if you never become C1, even if you never become native level fluent, the things that come along with this over time are really crazy. And I think that people underestimate how much doing things like this change the way that your brain works. And over time, the more that your brain web, if you want to call it that, grows and grows and grows, the more your ideas overlap and the more knowledge you're using for one thing. The thing is like even in other languages, there's ways to say things that you could never say in English. In Italian, for instance, there's expressions that you can never translate because they just don't make sense in another language. But the thing is having an understanding that that's how that works brings up a different conversations. Not to mention, it allows you to be able to communicate with people in ways that you didn't think were possible. I mean, I can understand so much Spanish because I speak Italian. It's not even funny. I mean, the fact of the matter is understanding the grammar of one language will allow you to open your eyes and all these other walks of life, right? I mean, even if you don't speak Hebrew, for instance, okay? Having an understanding of how grammar works allows you to open up a dialogue with people that you couldn't have before. Now, everybody understands the basics of grammar, but I think until you actually go and learn another language, you don't understand the logistics of things. So when you hear somebody speaking their native language, all of a sudden, even if you know nothing about their culture, you know nothing about their language, you can still spark up a conversation and speak to these people. And that's what makes the difference is when you can be genuinely interested in something because you have enough information to spark up a conversation, the world becomes so much vaster to you. I don't speak Hebrew, I don't speak Farsi, I don't speak Russian, but I know enough about languages that is really interesting to bring up a conversation and ask these people questions about their native tongue. And that is when things become different, right? Your brain starts making different connections. And on top of this, and I think one of the biggest things that it did for me is when I learned Italian, it was the first thing that I think I ever really saw to completion. Because I remember having my first real click moment when I was in Spain when I was 19. And I had a conversation with somebody in a grocery store in Barcelona, and they asked me a bunch of stuff because I was looking for a specific type of shampoo, and they spoke completely in Spanish. And then I responded in Italian. And it clicked to me. Oh my God, I can understand exactly what they just said. And I don't even speak the language, right? And there's this click moment a few times. That was my first one. And that was probably like 4 or 5 months into learning the language. But it happened as time goes on. You get better and better and better. And the thing is I remember different times where this has happened. But you have this click where it's like, wow, I actually did this. I saw this through. And I don't think enough people in their life ever actually have completion, a real completion, in the sense that they started something from the bottom and learned it to the top, right? Because the thing is like most people just throw things away. And I think skills, like I play guitar, but I'm not great at guitar. I play piano, but I'm not great at piano. And I think that people give up really easily on these things because it's so difficult over time to just keep learning and keep learning and keep learning and keep learning. And the thing is like languages are difficult. Don't get me wrong, you need to put the time in to learn. But at the end of the day, languages are kind of just one of those things that's time and attention. The more you speak it, the more you practice, the easier it is. And the thing is, like, I don't find it difficult. You don't have the word, then you look up the word, and now you have the word, right? And obviously, like, it's a memory thing. You have to constantly doing this, but to watch yourself actually go from not being able to understand what ciao means to being able to have a full conversation in a language and a dialogue with someone in a whole other part of the world is amazing. And I think being able to see something through, like learning a language, teaches you that you really can do the things that you set your mind to. And that was one of the first things for me. And I'm really happy to this day that I had that thing happen in the grocery store in Spain all those years ago, because it motivated me to keep going. But on top of that, it gave me my first bit of real credibility and my first bit of like acknowledgement to myself that, oh my God, I'm actually making progress. And that is an amazing thing. It feels amazing. And showing yourself that you can and giving yourself these little wins is what is going to push over time. Giving yourself these little wins is what keeps you motivated to do everything else over time. Another thing it does is it deepens creativity. And I think it improves the way that you speak in your first language and also how you think in your first language. And I think that new emotions arise when you learn a new language because phrasing that you use in these languages are so much different than your own that it allows you to once again connect deeper with people, be more charismatic, be a stronger speaker, a stronger writer, and stronger creativity. You don't just translate ideas, you create new ones. And I think that's beautiful, but also pushes you to, it allows you to be just a notch above the majority of people. And it makes a difference even if you don't realize it. And on top of all these things, the number one way to grow is to fail, right? Because the more you fail, the more you learn. And all you do learning a language is fail over and 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 over. And the thing is, it forces you to be uncomfortable. But I think those failures make the biggest difference when you're uncomfortable. Because the thing is for the first time in your life, it's okay to mess up, right? Nobody's going to judge you if you're learning a language and you don't say something correctly because you're learning the language. And I think we need so much more of that, because the thing is if you walked outside and fell on your ass trying to learn something new, like skateboarding, or messed up playing guitar in front of people and nobody said, oh, that sounded like garbage, we would all be making it a lot farther. But the problem is we're constantly ostracized and judged for our mistakes, which makes people so fearful of doing things wrong. But learning a language, you have no other opportunity but to mess up every single day, time after time after time after time after time. And that force to failure teaches you and reinforces in your brain, not only is it okay to fail, but when you fail, you learn. And on top of this, it creates a world where you can push through plateaus. Just because it's hard doesn't mean you have to stop. And just because it's hard doesn't mean you're done, right? If you start going up and then fall down a bit, you can still shoot back up. And that's the thing with languages. You're going to go through weeks of nothing. You're going to go through months of nothing. At a certain point, you can't keep learning at the same rate where you're learning 15 new words a day because your mind has to rest. It needs to learn vocabulary. Once you have 1,000 words or something, you can't just learn a new 5 words every day. It's not that easy because your brain will forget the other ones. You need to constantly be practicing, constantly readjusting. But the thing is if you keep pushing, eventually you get to the point where you can and will speak a language. And it teaches you that you can beat these plateaus. And this mindset spills into everything. It spills into business, it spills into relationships, it spills into creativity, and it shows you that no matter what you're working on, whether it's a new skill, a new business, or a new girlfriend or a new friendship, you can beat the odds. It creates better communication skills for you. If you don't think that you can do something, if you don't think that you can work through your relationship because your relationship communication is off, just because you're here doesn't mean you can't go back up here. You don't need to come down here. And that's the beautiful thing, is it teaches you a plethora of things. And I think that we can all learn so much from pushing ourselves to learn a new language. Once again, guys, if you don't know who I am, my name is Carter Positano, and I am here on YouTube to help. And I would love to hear from you guys, and I will see you in the next video.